last night on this very program, we were joined by a special studio audience made up of distinguished black conservatives, and it got the internet buzzing because over the course of the hour, we tackled some of the most pressing issues regarding race and politics. In particular, we talked about how the left tries to demonize, silence black Americans who dare to voice their opinion, which is conservative. Now, here's a clip from last night's program. I'm livid as a conservative when I'm called a racist, because it's not true. I'm a Christian. Well, but I am livid at the characterization that if you're conservative, you don't care about African Americans, you don't care about Latinos, because that is the antithesis of how I was raised, who I am, and the way I was born. But it's a narrative. Just like Obama will say, Republicans want dirty air and dirty water. They want kids with autism, Down syndrome.
The central point, Sean.
All right, go ahead.
The central point.
What is that?
With the left is what Dr. Carson and everybody in here represents is a threat to their sense of ownership. Liberals in total believe that they own black America, and anyone who dares stand up and say, especially during Black History Month, we're more than that 30-second blurb from McDonald's Black History Month, and they show one little blurb of something great about us. They want you to focus on civil rights or anything that shows us as downtrodden. It gets so bad to the point where you literally, like as Star has and I have, gotten death threats on college campuses from people who, first, not only are not black, but aren't American, because they feel like if you speak up, somebody else might hear you.
Joining me now with reaction to last night's program, Fox News political analyst Juan Williams. Why are black conservatives treated horribly? And by the way, you have experienced some of this in your life and career.
There's no question I've experienced it, but I think that the answer, I think Jason Riley said it to you, the guy from the Wall Street Journal said it to you last night, that there's an attempt to psychoanalyze, to make us out to be self-hating, to not truly be caring about other black people, Uncle Toms and names. It's just unbelievable. But the idea is to delegitimize you, that you are outside the mainstream and that you are in fact working for the man. I mean, I get that for working at Fox News. But the idea that in fact you have alternative and legitimate ideas is just this.
Nobody, this is a form of racism as far as I'm concerned, and intimidation. In a society that's so politically correct, this is like Christians, you're allowed to get away with it. You can attack Christians, you can attack black conservatives and say the most vile things about them, where if it was against any other group, there would be widespread condemnation. That's not the case.
Well, it's not the case because I think in this matter, it's a matter of the political machine. You look at most big cities where most black folks live, and you're looking at huge democratic political machines, and people rely on that patronage. It's been sort of ingrained. But the fact is, Sean, you look at the black church, there are a surprising number of people who are very conservative on some very important issues in society, but people don't want to hear about it, including gay rights. But this is a reality. You talk about social values and the like. But once it goes beyond just the political machines. You think about the music industry in this country, the whole hip-hop thing and that whole attitude and the poison they feed our young people. And again, somebody's out there saying, no, that's legitimate, that's authentic black. But if you show up in a suit and tie, and if you're talking about improving the quality of our schools, you're against the unions. That's not the black position.
But you know, what's frustrating to me is I don't know of any national platform that has dealt with the treatment of black conservatives. And there are a lot of black conservatives, and all of them, without exception, have been attacked in the most vile, vicious ways. Now, one of the questions I raised last night, I'll run this here. I asked the question, where's the left? Those that claim to have a monopoly speaking out for minorities, Latinos, black Americans, where are they when all these attacks against black conservatives take place? Watch this exchange. Show of hands, how many of you have been called horrible names, as we were talking about earlier? Put your hand up high. Everybody in this room, horrible names. Reverend, why? Why is that happening? And where are the people on the left that claim they will stand up for civil rights, defending the right of African American conservatives not to be treated this way?
It's designed, Sean, to keep black people in particular uninformed and broke. And when you put people in that type of situation, you have them uninformed about the freedom that's all around them, then you're able to lead them like sheep down a path that they have led them to over a 50-year period of time.
Yeah.
And when you look at the black community, and you look at this administration being reelected, it was reelected because the electorate was uninformed.
What do you think?
Well, I think he's wrong. I mean, clearly, people know exactly the difference between Romney and Obama, and it wasn't just black folks who made that decision. And I think sometimes Republicans forget. I mean, you should look at my email some days.
That wasn't the question I was
No, let me just
asking.
tell you.
No.
You look at my email, it is offensive, especially in the
mine?
midst of the campaign.
You wanna see mine?
No, but I'm saying
You think mine's any
Republicans,
different?
that's the far right. And people say, why does the Tea Party get labeled as racist? And you look at some of their signs and some of their language.
These are anonymous.
You know,
Do you want to see? I'll trade email for email.
I know,
if
it's
you
pretty
want.
horrible,
It's
but I'm just
horrible,
telling you. But the thing is, when you get like this congressman talking about Hispanics as wetbacks, so you talk about Sandra Fluck as somehow a loose woman, or something. You say, why do Republicans do this? They damage themselves with groups, and then people, I think, line up and say anybody who's with those people is not to be trusted.
Wait a minute. What has Colin Powell been called over the years? What has Condi Rice? What has every prominent black conservative in this country been called? It's not big news, Juan. I can't think of another show besides this that has actually dealt in a major way with this issue.
You know what? Amen. Because as I said, look, what you said earlier about me is true. I've experienced this personally. I've written books on this subject. I mean, I have, Colin Powell, Clarence Thomas, I can tell you, Condi Rice, I know the pain these people go through on it.
It's horrible.
And it's terrible because they doubt who they are and they want to separate them from their community.
Well,
and it's not fair because, and this is something that came through your show last time, I was so impressed by. The idea that there are real ideas out there, that if you're talking about improving the quality of public schools, how can you not be challenging the unions? If you're talking about the drug dealers, why don't you go instead of talking about the crack cocaine is different sentencing, why don't you talk about the drug dealers?
Every single solitary, if you look at the campaign that we run and we cover, you see the Democratic Party that they play the race card. They play rich versus old. They play Republicans hate minorities, they hate Latinos, they hate blacks, they hate grandma, they want to kill her, they hate sick children. That's what Democrats say in every campaign, and I'll show you all the ads that back it up.
Look, I'm going to tell you something. I remember when George Bush was running, he'd just been governor of Texas, and he had about 40% support in the black community coming into the national race. NAACP went down there. I don't know if you remember this James Byrd ad.
Yeah.
Just terrible, just totally wrong, offensive and wrong. And yet that is the way that it works, and I think that's why the Democrats keep that dominion over the black community. But it's not fair to black conservatives.
Well, I appreciate you being with us. Thoughtful discussion.
You're welcome.
Thanks. And tonight, up next on Hannity.